lot of is working with different media. And some of my favorite tools are water brush, uh, the water-soluble pencils, uh, and working and playing what you can manipulate and do things with it that you just really can't do with just a straight pencil. Although I use water-soluble pencils, I can do a lot of the same. So, and here's like these are drawings from imagination where I'm developing my ideas. But a lot of times I'll go back to drawings that I've done in the past. Now these are some sketches. Now these were done from the model. These were what 2-minute sketches. And so what I use is the wash a lot of times to come back in and go over the drawings. You can go back. By the way, this is a stone paper, so it doesn't absorb the water. But I can go through and just using the ink that's on the paper, I can come in and I can develop forms. I can come through and take and say, well, gee, I want to add a tone. I come through, drop a leg. Now this is just using the water. Nothing else, and the color of the ink that I build on it. So it's a tool. I can take and create a sense of volume. I can take and push a gesture. Now the pose didn't have an awful lot of gesture to it. Rather boring model actually. But a lot of times you can take, and it's like the other one pose here. This one here was a bit better. We can get a lot of the flow and action and movement that goes on. Now, one of the tools, which is really neat about working on a stone paper, is that you can work with Silverpoint on it. And just this morning, I was for my online academy class, I was taking and doing some drawings. People were asking me about Silverpoint. So these were drawings I did with Silverpoint, and then going back over the Silverpoint with watercolor, which is a great way of working. The Silverpoint doesn't, you can't erase it, it doesn't bleed. You can go back over it with water, you can take and build on it. And Silverpoint pencil, so the stone paper, and that's actually how I got into using the stone paper, because I wanted something that would take and work with Silverpoint. So I want to take a look at a few more drawings here. Now, in these drawings, like this where you can see where I'm really just pushing the tone around. And these are developing ideas, trying to think about, okay, how can I create a movement so that even in here, I think this is water-soluble graphite, is I can come through, I'll take it back, it's not. I can come through and build on these drawings. Here, now you can see where I'm taking, using the wash, coming through and around on the form. Now, I'm looking, not sure whether I'm working with a water soluble. I can take, and with something like this, I'll use my watercolors and I'll come through and pick up. I can take and develop the form a bit, give myself a little bit of clarity, spatial, bring in the sense of the atmosphere. It's a great way of helping you to understand the forms that you're working with, is when you can take them very quickly, very simply, just taking and using wash to come in. I find that today, I don't find a lot of students tend to be, I don't want to say backward, but they don't have a lot of flexibility in the materials that they use. And in fact, one of the classes I teach in the VilppuAcademy.com is a figure drawing 3. It's all about experimenting and playing with different materials. So as you're developing your ideas, now I come through, okay, now these, you can see, okay, now I've come back in working with the wash. You can, now these drawings are all from imagination. So I start out, and that's one of the keys to taking and being able to construct the figure, is to be able to take and draw it from imagination. Also anatomy, but I can go back into drawings like this, what I was doing down here, using wash to come in and help to separate the forms in space. Now you can see how I just did that. I took and using a tone on the bottom of the foot and bring out the leg, come through, wrap a tone around. It's a constant process of just being able to play and push the tones as you're working. So I'm going to have to blot this, because one of the disadvantages of working on stone paper, the water stays on the surface. It doesn't go anywhere. And so it's taking rather slow to dry. Okay. Now here again, you can see taking and building, experimenting with just taking and feeling how something would go. The wash. Now this is working. Okay, here, now this I think is on water-soluble pencil. So I can take and come back into this and just adding water. I'm taking and creating and developing the tone as I'm coming through. So you can see the simplification. It gives you a sense. Now this drawing was done from a model. These were drawn from imagination. And so these were from imagination. So I'm taking and just using the tones, the paper, and the water-soluble tone. The pencils I generally use, I use a Caran d'Ache. You can see now I'm creating a whole new tone with things. It pulls things together, and you can there's a lot of subtlety that you can take and bring into the drawing. And so like you can see, I'm using the tone to take and help wrap around these figures. I can come through, you can see over here, I'm just picking up from the pencil that I put down. So I'm just adding water. And so I can take and develop ideas. I can carry things further. And you can also take and go back over the drawings anytime you want. So the materials gives flexibility, and besides, it's fun to look at. So much of what I do is made for taking, and I do it because I like the look. But that way, it's very, very simple. Okay, but we work to take and things like, for instance, this is drawn from imagination. I think I've shown this. Now these are drawings from imagination. I'm developing ideas. So as we go through and looking at this sketchbook is actually pretty much almost full now. But one of the things I actually wanted to talk a little bit about was what's really the point in gesture? A lot of people are taking in today talking about gesture, but they approach the gesture like drawing. If you're drawing from a figure that's in action, you have a photograph of an active figure, and they assume that if you copy the contours of that figure, that's going to show the action. It doesn't. And looking at many portfolios, whether when I was working at Disney or CalArts, That's not the way to capture the gesture. You have to analyze the forms and what they're doing. So in drawing gesture, the main thing is to lead the eye. So as I'm going through, now I'm drawing from imagination. As I come through and I feel what the body is doing, but I'm leading the eye with the pencils as I go through. The line is leading the eye, and at the same time I'm thinking of the volume. So that the gesture is really, it's the subject of what you're doing. It's like it's the story, and you can communicate a level of emotion. And I'm gonna draw with something a little bit darker here so you can see what I'm talking about. This is an idea here. In other words, if I take and do, and I'm drawing darker now. So I don't normally draw this. I start out very, very light. Okay. If I take and do this, now you can look at that and you can see right away that there's a point to that. There's an attitude to the drawing. And if I come in and even do a little bit of expression, and there's very, very clear meaning to it. And to contrast that, for instance, if I take and I do this, now with the combination of the two things is that we have a story staying out. Okay, that's giving the essence of the action. There's no real shape, there's no content, but there is a story and there is a gesture. The rest of the drawing is a matter of taking and clarifying that by working with the forms, the volumes, and as I go through, like for instance over here, I started out with getting a gesture, then the next step would be seeing these simple volumes coming through. Now, notice that I don't start out by drawing a contour. The form that you draw creates a contour. That's the main element in my teaching. It's the Vilppu drawing manual. It's all about step by step by step, but it's communicating the action and the story element in your drawing. And being able to, it's just Renaissance drawing is what it is. Nothing more. Okay, nothing less either. Okay, so this is really the key. So anyway, if you get a chance, you should take and go to the vilppuacademy.com. Look at my schedule. I'm going to be in Brussels starting in the 9th of September. I'm going to be in Vienna, and my online classes start again in late October. So take care.